Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Be Vital podcast. I'm Marcia Hawkins, along with the owner, founder of Be Vital, Stephanie Nascimento. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Nice to be here. I hope you're well.
Yeah, doing good, living the dream. Spring's like here. I just need the sun out a little bit more, but I'm doing
Mm,
great. How about
Same. I can't, that feeling when spring is about to bud is just so exciting and has so much promise and hope ahead of it. So I'm really excited today.
same here? But before we get going, we do need to say hello to someone very special. We need to say hello to your dad, Ronald, who we know is one of our listeners, our dedicated listeners. So we want to do a shout out to Ronald and thank him for tuning in to the Be Vital podcast. All right, let's get
Yes.
right to it. Yeah, I love that I love that he's always listening. So that's
Hi,
great.
Dad.
But today we've got an exciting podcast on tap. We're going to be talking about weight management and some of the options that people have. Now, Stephanie, you and I both know that it is such a difficult. I don't know if I would put, and maybe you would. You're an RN and you are really in the trenches with this. But would you classify obesity, carrying extra weight? Would you classify that as an addiction?
Oh, yes, 100%. 100%. And, not for everyone. Not for everyone. If it stems from a metabolic issue that is, connected to some other disease processes, then possibly not. But for most people, there is some addiction involved in it.
Some level, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do know some people that have struggled their entire life with their weight. They've at times have, lost weight. Maybe a couple of times they've gotten down to their desired weight and gained it back. And we've talked on previous podcasts about this and how what you have to do is you have to get into some type of program that is 100% has sustainability to it because otherwise you are on that seesaw of skinny heavy skinny heavy skinny heavy and
Right.
that to me is and I'm just guessing that cannot be good for your system either. I know like there's a lot of people that really subscribe to the low carb diets, like almost to the point where, and we've never talked about this and maybe at some point we should, that
Sure.
the carb restriction to the level that some of these diets go are really not healthy for your kidneys, correct?
Especially long term. Yes.
Right.
Intermittently and periodically, there's definitely some science to it. But if you were to do it long term, no, it's not a great way to sustain your system. Systems are going to start to break down, particularly like you mentioned, your kidney function will take a hit.
Well, not only that, but you mentioned sustain. I don't believe they're sustainable. Most people, and I can think of 10 people right off the top of my head that went on a carb restriction diet and they lost massive amounts of weight only to take it back with interest. And a couple of times, carbs are not your enemy. They're really not. Now, if you have a heavy carb diet, I don't agree with that either, but I do find that some people get
Mm.
on that bandwagon of these low carb diets. Of course, you lose 10 pounds of water weight almost immediately. And then, losing fat, and then you go along. But here's the fly in the ointment, 3 months in. And I remember a friend of mine went on the Atkins diet and she lost weight. She lost like 10 pounds. She was probably 3 weeks in, and I had gone out to dinner with her, and she was almost catatonic. And she said to me the next day, I don't know what was wrong with me, but I felt like I was having an out of body experience. I felt like I couldn't comprehend what you were saying. And she was
Mm.
very dehydrated. So I have not seen the level of sustainability that I would need to see to formally endorse promoting a diet like that, which is why we are here to talk about some of the options that people really do have, that does have the sustainability. It delivers the results. And I love the fact that the coaching that goes along with it really helps people, keep their head in the game and, really ensure that they have that sustainability.
Yes, I think it's absolutely crucial. And even to your point about low carb versus no carb, what does that, no one even really knows what that means. I mean, it is incredibly confusing because when you say no carb, that's no complex carbohydrates, no fibrous grain, no. So when people get very confused by that, and I think that with the advent of South Beach diet and Atkins diet, that did get confusing because it went more towards high fat and no carb. And so we got off track, I think, tremendously. There is a way to do low carb, but you have to have the education and coaching and really understand what those things mean and what they do for the body.
Yeah, that's what's missing.
Right.
People jump on a fad, and I think Dr. Atkins actually died of a heart attack, but that's
Yeah.
another conversation. Just consuming, and again, I'm not against fats either. I think healthy fats are actually good for you, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and I know with some people that went on the Atkins diet very religiously. I know someone that did it. They did lose a lot of weight. They gained it all back with interest, but I just remember looking at her one day and her hair had no shine to it. Her hair
Mm.
was very, very thin. It looked lifeless. And I thought to myself, what toll is it taking on her entire body if it's starting to show externally in that way? And again, and she said she apologized, the next day, and she just said, I felt like I was having an out of body experience. I know it's the diet. I feel dehydrated. I'm not drinking enough water. I'm not eating enough. And I thought, okay, I remember that conversation to this day, and it was probably 15 years ago. And I
Wow.
thought I would never, that was where I said I would never do that type of diet. Fortunately, I'm happy to say I've never had a weight issue. Um, and people a lot of times will say, well, it's just your metabolism. And, it could be, my mom was extremely overweight her whole life. Her big joke was, there's got to be a shot or a pill you could take for this. And I just wish she lived long enough to see, the GLP ones. She would have
Yeah,
been so
right.
happy. She kept
Aw.
saying to me, Marcia, they can put a man on the moon. Why can't they come up with a shot or a pill that would make my weight come off? And so I did not get my mother's weight gene. But that said, I probably do have an elevated metabolism. But honestly, I think has more to do with my mindset.
Right.
Always believed in, simply, enjoying a little bit of everything. If you want to have a cupcake or you want to have a slice of pie, it's not going to kill you. You just can't eat the whole pie, nor can you eat the whole, dozen cupcakes either. So it's
Right.
more of a mindset for me that I work with my clients, much like with the cryo skin. It works, but it doesn't work if you go out and eat a large pizza and drink a six pack of beer. It doesn't work.
Right.
So I think you and I are completely on the same page that sometimes what people need is they need some structure. And this is where the coaching and the GLP ones and the holistic, all natural approach to weight loss comes in. And so I want you to talk a little bit about some of the options that you're offering for people to really finally, once and for all, get their health back, get their life back, being able to go for a walk and not be out of breath, being able to run up the stairs, being able to play with their kids,
Mm.
and feel, I think most importantly, love the skin that they're in. So what have you got in your magic
Ah.
nurse bag that can help people? Because I am as passionate about it as you are, because ultimately we just want people to feel good.
Right. And, it really changes everything if they don't feel good in their bodies. And that is the most important thing. So, with that said, having options is really important because there's not one structure plan that's going to fit all. That is something I've definitely found over the last 14 years in weight loss. And it can be one plan can be really effective for you maybe during the weight loss part, but might not fit for your maintenance portion. And it is a lifelong journey. When people ask me, what can I do to lose the weight? Am I going to gain it back? Yes, absolutely. I have something for you, and we can do this together. And you absolutely will gain it back if you don't change what you're doing now.
Hmm.
So that's the key, in my opinion. That is the key to maintenance. To be willing to really look at what got you there, how you're going to get to a better place, and how you're going to maintain that. They're all equal parts.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, and in terms of how to get there, there are different options that we offer. We do have an old program that we use that is still very effective for people, and that's called Ideal Protein, which the focus is good quality protein. There is another option, which is, you mentioned it earlier, the GLPs and those GLP ones. There are so many different ways to do it. You do not have to do the standard tiered approach with your coaching. You can, because we're doing the coaching, we really can titrate it according to your specific needs. So many people say, do I have, am I going to get these symptoms? Do I have to be on it for life? Well, honestly, it really depends on you. We don't have to go to the higher amounts. We can stay really low. We could even microdose and have some success if you're doing other things in addition to it. And then lastly, we're bringing in a new homeopathic program that I'm super excited about. It's new, it's fresh, it is very well designed, and it is using homeopathic products. So people who really want to stay as natural as possible, this is a great option for them.
Oh, that's, I mean, the GLP ones, everybody, and I think we talked about this previously on another podcast. The GLP ones and some of the other injectables have really been around for quite some time, but more, in my opinion, more for the rich and famous, for the lack of a better
Mm,
word. And
right.
now it's like everything. Once it kind of goes through, and now it's more affordable. And I'm curious about this. I'm really curious about this. It's kind of funny to me. Why do they not cover this under insurance?
Oh, that is one loaded question.
Yeah, I am curious. Why do they not
Yeah.
cover that?
So I think that it would be very expensive for the amount of people that need it. It would be a costly experiment. And it's proven to be so, which is why a lot of these insurance companies that once were covering it are now pulling away.
Yeah, kind of like why your a mouth and your eyes are not covered under health insurance, even though it's part of the same body. It's kind of odd that way. And I'm an insurance agent. So go
That's right.
figure. Go figure. I don't even like me sometimes, you know?
Right.
It's crazy. But when you think about the challenges with obesity and even carrying an extra 20, 25 pounds, what it does to your knees, and then they have to do knee replacement, what it does to the weight on your hips, and what that does for so it really is very short-sighted on on the insurance companies, but
Right.
that's another whole topic. But I do wonder if more people would be, able to do it if they could afford it. But I know when they first came out, they were so ridiculously expensive that, most people could not afford it. Now it's becoming more and more affordable
Right.
and more necessary because, people are really struggling. Have you ever looked back at like some of the news articles back in the 80s and 70s and how thin people were?
Hmm.
Have you ever, isn't that wild?
It is pretty wild. And there's clear in my world, there's clear explanations for how and why things have shifted. There was that study, I think we've talked about that before, that came out, I believe it was in the 70s, regarding heart disease and really doing, low fat everything. And so by pulling low fat out of the diet, we really added a lot of artificial sweeteners and sugar in general. And so then we had diabetes skyrocketing, obesity skyrocketing, and guess what? It did nothing positive for cardiac disease, which was the whole point of this original study.
And incredible, right?
Yeah,
It's just amazing. I know. It's funny how that all works out, but I just love the fact that you are so passionate about helping people. And when people meet with you, and I've seen it because we've done a couple of workshops, and I've watched you explain it to people and the passion that you have about it and how it can really help people. And I find that while I love technology, there's just too many things out there that people can, purchase online without really knowing what they're doing, and they can really get themselves into not a good way if they don't really know what they're doing. So on top of what you offer with the GLP-1s and the fact that you do have a couple of different options, not everybody can do the injection. Some people just simply, it's not for them. They don't want to do it. And
sure.
they, and I respect that, but luckily you do have a couple of options for people that simply don't want to do that. So I love that. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that program, and I know you mentioned ideal protein, and I know that there's another product that you've just incorporated, and it's more of a pill form, a drop form, and a maintenance program with their diet, correct?
That is correct. That is correct. It is really a 6-week program for weight loss. And in that time period, you are on a drop, a homeopathic tincture, essentially 3 times a day, with structured eating. So there is a structured eating plan that goes along with it. It's very specific, but also I say very specific, but it does give you some, nice choices because it is your own food. So it'll give you some guidelines, and you eat structured with your own meals twice a day. And so there's some intermittent fasting built in, the tincture built in, and structured eating built in. And that's for 6 weeks. That is the main weight loss phase. And believe it or not, so far there is an average of 25 pounds lost in that time period,
Ah,
which
amazing.
I know is pretty phenomenal. And when I compare it to our GLP weight loss, it actually surpasses that for some people. So I'm excited to get it in the clinic. We do have a pilot study going on now to collect our own data, and we're enrolling others as well in addition to the pilot group. But I'm just thrilled about it because after that 6-week weight loss, if 20 pounds is your goal and you've reached that goal, you then bridge on to a maintenance plan that's also very comprehensive. And the products that are used in that maintenance program, it's 6 pills total, 6 capsules, and it is things that supplements, very natural supplements that address all of the different systems involved in maintaining weight. So it's a really nice way to tune your metabolism post weight loss with detox to prevent regain. So I love the way it's built. I'm super excited to start using it.
Oh, that's amazing. I know. And I just, again, to reiterate, I love the fact that there are options for people because not everybody is going to want to do the holistic approach. Some people are fine with doing the shots and they maybe have known somebody that did the GLP-1s and had success with it and they want it too. And yeah, it's a really exciting time for weight loss for people and weight management because there are options that just 10 years ago did not exist. And
Right.
now here we are. And I love the fact that some people just need that that hand holding to kind of just guide them and get them on the right track. And yeah, and it's really nice to watch when and I work with people with the cryoskin, and when they start getting results and they start feeling better, and they give you a hug at the end of it and just say, thank you
Mm,
so much. And I've had people that have come in that really have had a substantial amount of weight to lose. And it's like that cryo kind of comes in after that. And in talking with some people, it's rewarding to be able to then offer them an alternative and help them get that weight off, so the cryoskin would then just be that much better. So yeah, it's
Oh,
all
yeah.
good. All good. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on and doing the podcast with me today. I love talking about this, and let's tell people how they can get a hold of you.
Sure. Okay, so you can reach me and look at the different services at bevitalwellness.com. That's our website. You can also reach out via email at hadley at bevitalwellness.com. There is a contact us page on the website itself, and then our phone number is 413-387-0219.
Perfect. And we'll have all that contact information embedded into the podcast on the link that you are listening to. So, all right, until next week, where we have another jam packed podcast with Stephanie Nascimento of Be Vital. Until then, share the health.